from the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
First at 11, here's a live look across central Indiana. Scattered storms are a possibility overnight. WRTV Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joins us now with the forecast. Hey, Kevin.
And Amanda, the good news is we'll see some scattered showers or thunderstorms, but we are not expecting any severe storms. More rain chances the next couple of days, but those are relatively low. I know you need some rain, want rain, but we may not all get it. Dry and pleasant as we go to the weekend. As you look at the radar now, there are a few showers around Crawfordsville, some very light showers in the metro area, but I think it will pick up overnight, especially southern half of the state. 1 o'clock in the morning, Indy down to Bloomington and Bedford. Seymour, there could be some locally heavy downpours there, some gusty winds, but again, not expecting severe storms. There's your temperature trend for tomorrow. Should look familiar, about like today. Isolated afternoon thunderstorm. Temperatures in the low 80s.
2 months until the general election, and an organization is focused on creating a more diverse and inclusive voter turnout by educating, empowering, and letting Hoosiers know their vote matters. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker talked to two of the people behind Count Us Indiana. The nonpartisan group is working to make registering and voting easier for everyone.
Your voice does matter, and your vote does make a difference.
Miles Trowell and Jalen Radziminski know so many people have a hard time believing that. It's why they started Count Us Indiana, Count Us In for short, based out of Fort Wayne. Both of them told me they've had issues before when they tried to vote.
I kind of knew that, like, I'm still able to vote because I had forms of mail with me with the new address on it and everything, and they were still making it difficult.
The absentee paperwork was misprinted several times, and then there was my ballot the year after got to my address late. I wasn't able to register in time.
Knowing others could face similar issues, they want people to know Count Us Indiana is there to help voters figure things out.
If people need resources to get their ID, if you can't afford printing or getting your official paperwork, any pro bono legal services, please feel free to reach out to us.
Every Tuesday from now until the general election, they're teaming up with the Indianapolis Public Library, holding virtual forums where they'll discuss a range of topics related to voting. The library approached them with the idea.
We really wanted to have, groups that targeted minorities like women, Black, LGBT, but a lot of groups weren't around or weren't really able to respond.
But Count Us Indiana was able to respond, and now they're working to make voting easier for everyone. Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
We'll have a link in this story to information about Count Us Indiana and their upcoming events. Just go to WRTV.com. Today is National Poll Worker Recruitment Day, and even though the day is winding down, the effort to attract people to work the polls is not. There are ongoing concerns about having enough poll workers this year as the pandemic continues. According to our Scripps national team in the general election 4 years ago, 56% of poll workers were over the age of 61. Last week, Indiana's Secretary of State put out a call for poll workers.
It takes an army of volunteers to run elections, and we need you to sign up to be a poll worker or to count absentee ballots. Our democracy depends on Hoosiers like you taking the initiative to play an active role.
For information about being a poll worker in Indiana, go to our website, WRTV.com, and search poll worker. Now to the latest on how the pandemic is impacting the lives and health of Hoosiers. The State Department of Health is now reporting 3,093 COVID-19 deaths. 16 newly reported deaths happened between August 21st and yesterday. 721 new positive cases were reported between those same dates. Nearly 95,000 people have tested positive for the virus since the start of the pandemic. Landmarks and once bustling buildings across Indiana and the country are bathed in red light right now. The Red Alert Initiative is shining a light on the devastating impact the pandemic is having on the live event industry. Many venues cannot operate due to capacity limits and other COVID restrictions. Local organizer Robert Williams says the situation is leaving many business owners, workers, and entertainers feeling hopeless.
Indiana, we've got over 40 venues in Indianapolis, Evansville, Terre Haute, Fort Wayne, South Bend. The event is to raise awareness to the fact that there's 10 to 12 million event workers in the United States, and most of those are out of work and will be out of work until events can return.
Organizers of the nationwide alert are calling on Congress to pass legislation to provide financial support to the event industry. Last week, Indianapolis announced funding grants for 17 live music venues across the city. A different struggling industry is getting some help statewide. More than 1,000 child care providers in Indiana receive funding from the Come Back Stronger Fund. That includes East 10th United Methodist Children and Youth Center. The center serves families on the Near East Side of Indianapolis. It closed at the beginning of the pandemic and reopened in June. Added safety precautions led to added expenses. The grant money is helping cover those costs. The executive director says keeping the center's doors open is about serving parents and the community.
We have a lot of families that have essential jobs that are out there, home health care. Those never ended. You know, if you're a manager at a gas station, you need to be there, you know. So we just really needed to open up for the families and also for the children to get them back into the swing of things.
Early Learning Indiana awarded around $13 million total to child care providers across the state. Many renters in central Indiana are having problems with their apartments and rental homes, but you might have to wait if you want a health inspector to check it out. Tina Kimball found mold and water damage throughout her apartment. She says when she first called the health department, they told her they could not come out because of COVID. The department says while it is still taking complaints, inspectors are only being sent to indoor areas for urgent matters.
What do I do? Because you're the only guys that are going to be able to do anything.
The things that we identify as emergencies are going to be a lack of utilities if they have no running water or electricity, no hot water under some circumstances with children or elderly that need hot water. Those would be emergencies. The raw sewage backing up would be an emergency, and a lack of air conditioning under certain circumstances.
The health department did end up sending an inspector after Tina's water heater broke. They cited the landlord with 21 violations, including mold in several locations, cracks and holes in the walls, as well as a mice infestation. We reached out to the landlord and are waiting to hear back. The health department still wants concerned tenants to call. They may be able to do an in-person inspection at a later date. Today marks 1 year since the Red Line started rolling through Indianapolis. The city's first bus rapid transit line saw huge ridership numbers in its first month. But public transportation in general has taken a hit since the pandemic began. WRTV's Cameron Riddle caught a bus with Indigo's president and CEO, who shared some of the lessons learned from the Red Line and the latest ridership numbers.
Indianapolis has grown and changed in its 200 years, but the Red Line kicked off the city's first mass transit overhaul in decades.
And if you look at our routes the way they were 40 years ago, Indigo hasn't changed, but the city has been constantly evolving, and that's why that redesign is so important, to be able to rematch the services to where the people are.
Adding a new transit system to an established city turns what seems like simple changes into headaches. Indigo president and CEO Inez Evans says in the first months of Red Line service, it became clear that the rubber medians meant to keep cars from crossing the Red Line's path would not work.
Oh my goodness. So the rubber mediums, I had started referring to them as the alligators in the road because they kept going on top of one another. So we replaced those with the concrete mediums, and those have been greeted so much better by the community.
In other places, traffic bollards meant to separate buses from general road traffic caused a bit of a headache too, as Red Line buses would literally get snagged on the traffic bollards, which were eventually removed. New infrastructure combined with new technology threw Indigo a curveball.
Caution, bus is turning. We took on new bus technology, the TVM machines where you get your fares, that was new. Signal preemption, that was new for us. All of these things laid on top. Nothing worked exactly as it was supposed to on day one, and some things we're still working through.
Evans has led transit agencies in a number of big American cities. She says IndyGo has presented the most challenges, and none were bigger than opening a bus line months before a global pandemic. After its first month of service almost 1 year ago, ridership was at 246,369 passengers. That declined in the winter to 139,000 passengers in January. But before IndyGo could figure out if that drop was because of cold weather, coronavirus struck. Redline ridership dropped to 93,000 in March and 51,000 in May. But Evans is encouraged by a 21% increase in Redline riders between June and July.
Ridership is coming back. It's not where it was on opening day, but we are seeing our system coming back, even with the COVID pandemic happening. And I will say that our transit numbers are ahead of the curve in the return of our ridership than other transit systems nationwide.
After surviving growing pains, IndyGo is now looking ahead to the purple and blue lines after a year of feedback and lessons learned from the red line.
Pre-COVID, we had companies just calling us and saying, we love the red line, it's a great service. If you look at the landscape of what's already happening along purple and along blue line, improvements to the community are already starting to show. That is a component of BRT being promised to come down those streets.
In Indianapolis, Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
The continued growth of IndyGo is creating more job opportunities. IndyGo is always looking for bus operators, but the expansion of the purple and blue lines mean more electric buses, which increases the need for additional maintenance and engineering staff. IndyGo is hiring for those jobs right now. The Department of Transportation is also hiring Hoosiers. Coming up, details about an annual job opportunity that will help keep you busy during the cold winter days and nights. And WRTV is raising money to help give kids the gift that keeps on giving, books. The goal of our If You Give a Child a Book campaign is to empower children with the literacy tools they need to be successful in school and in life. The campaign goes through September 11th. Go to WRTV.com/giveabook for more information.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Investigators are working to learn how a 2-year-old in Speedway was able to get out of his apartment and into a retention pond where he drowned. The boy was pulled from the water at Eagle Creek Court Apartments near 21st and Cunningham Road just after 6 o'clock this evening. He was pronounced dead at Riley Hospital for Children. Officials say the boy's mother had been searching for her son. It's estimated he was in the water for about 20 minutes. Metro Police say a man is dead after a shooting on the northeast side of Indianapolis. Officers found the victim on Priscilla Avenue near 30th and Arlington at around 10:30 tonight. We will bring you updates as we learn more. According to online records, a court date is not set yet for a security guard charged with murdering a woman on the east side of Indianapolis. Investigators say Melvin Hall shot Nitasia Williams 3 times on Friday on Brentwood Drive near 42nd and Post Road. The Marion County prosecutor says witnesses and videos led to the charging decision, and more charges could be filed.
The video was certainly illuminating in terms of people's response to this particular incident. I think the other part that the video does is it also tells us that there's some additional investigation that needs to take place and some additional follow-up. Is there additional charges that could potentially be filed?
WRTV Investigates has been following Hall since 2015 when he was accused of impersonating a police officer. He was cleared in that case. President Trump is back in Washington tonight after traveling to Kenosha, Wisconsin. During the president's visit, the family of Jacob Blake held their own event. ABC's Alex Poche has the latest.
President Trump in Kenosha, Wisconsin today, in spite of state and local leaders asking him to postpone the visit, fearing tensions were still too high. He toured a building destroyed in protest after the police shooting of Jacob Blake.
We have to condemn the dangerous anti-police rhetoric. It's getting more and more. It's very unfair. You have some bad apples, we all know that, and those will be taken care of through the system. and nobody's going to be easy on them either. And you have people that joke.
Repeating his suggestion that Rustin Sheshki, the police officer who shot Blake 7 times in the back, choked, comparing him to a golfer missing a putt. Just blocks away from the president's event, Jacob Blake's family hosted a day of community service at the site of his shooting.
All I ask is that he keep his disrespect, his foul language far away from our family.
Holding a community cleanup, hosting a barbecue and voter registration drive, calling on the community to remain calm despite the president's visit. The Wisconsin Department of Justice investigation into Blake's shooting continues. And the 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, who's accused of killing 2 demonstrators and wounding a third last week, remains in custody. Ahead of his visit, the president defended Rittenhouse.
I guess he was in very big trouble. He probably would have been killed.
The president condemned the fatal shooting in Portland of a man wearing a Blue Lives Matter flag and reportedly a hat that belonged to a right-wing group. And when pressed about the demonstrations against racial injustice sweeping the nation, he painted most protesters as agitators.
Do you believe systemic racism is a problem in this country?
Well, you just keep getting back to the opposite subject. We should talk about the kind of violence that we've seen in Portland and here and other places. It's tremendous violence.
The Blake family did not meet with the president, but have spoken at length with Joe Biden and say they would make themselves available if the Democratic nominee travels to Kenosha. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
Members of Indiana Task Force 1 are expected to return home tomorrow. The unit spent 1 week deployed in the Gulf Coast helping with Hurricane Laura relief and rescue efforts. The task force posted several pictures on social media showing some of the damage and destruction in Louisiana. Laura made landfall Thursday as the strongest hurricane to hit the state since 1856. Kevin.
For us, a few rain showers tonight. As I mentioned off the top of the newscast, not expecting any severe weather overnight. 70 in Kokomo, but it's still 78 in Muncie, mid-70s in Indy. And as we look at the radar, I'll show you within Marion County here in a second, some rain showers that sit across Marion County and will continue to move to the north and northeast. There's your temperature trend as we go through the next couple days, and the humidity will drop as well. I stepped out for 1 second. I want to get back to this radar and show you. There's the shower just north of Speedway, north of Indianapolis. That's the way this will be tonight. They'll just pop up and drop some heavy rain and then fizzle. Here are some more between Frankfort and Lebanon. You just see the little colors dotting the area. I think it becomes a little more organized as we go past 1, 2 in the morning, especially in the southern half of the state. So we mentioned it's humid, temperatures in the 70s. 83 is our average temperature. We'll be at or below average as we go into the weekend. With the humidity falling out, it will be a much different story. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a very enjoyable stretch. Tomorrow, an isolated thunderstorm. 83 for the high. Most likely time for the rain will be later in the afternoon. This is what I mean by isolated. Our chances are not that great in any one spot to catch a thunderstorm tomorrow. 7 a.m. Some of these overnight showers will be departing to the south and east. You get a little line that comes together. It's a broken line. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That pushes south and east by 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Temperatures on Thursday. 79 at noon. We're back in the low 80s for your afternoon high temperature, and the chance for rain is a little greater to the south. The forecast model starting to really, by south, push it closer to the Ohio River. That's at 5 o'clock in the morning Thursday. Still putting some heavy rain down along the Ohio River. We'll wait and see if that holds true. We'll keep a chance for showers in the forecast right now for Thursday and then dry it out on Friday. Thursday temperatures, last day in the 80s, at least for a little bit, and temperatures become very comfortable. Overnight lows will be as cool as 56 degrees on Saturday morning, still in the 50s on Sunday. There's your Labor Day weekend. The change comes Monday with a chance for some showers and thunderstorms, chance at about 30%. Next couple days, can't rule out that downpour, then dry Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Slight chance of thunderstorms Monday and Tuesday, but notice 5 out of the 7 days, or 4 out of the 7 days will be in the 70s for highs.
And as you just heard, there is no snow in the forecast, but the Indiana Department of Transportation is already preparing for it. INDOT is working to fill winter seasonal positions. The department will host statewide hiring events from 10 to 3 on September 15th and October 15th. Winter seasonal jobs go from November through March. Starting pay is $16 per hour. For more info, go to hiringhoosiers.com. And there are new job opportunities on the south side of Indianapolis for adults with developmental disabilities. Happy Hounds Doggy Daycare just opened its doors to the public today. It's the second big project from the Alex and Allie Foundation. The nonprofit is dedicated to helping adults with disabilities learn job skills. At Happy Hounds, your dog will be cared for by these team members. They'll cuddle with the dogs, play with them, bake homemade treats, and more. Founder and mother Jennifer Parker says this mission is a win-win for the team members and the community.
There's so many adults with a developmental disability that do not have the opportunity to work, to volunteer within our community. We are showing the world that they can do things. They need the right environment, they need a safe environment, they need training, and they blossom.
For more info about Happy Hounds, go to hiringhoosiers.com and click on this story. One of the largest employers in Shelby County is bouncing back after laying off more than 700 workers earlier this year. Ryobi is the #1 automotive supplier for aluminum die castings. Business at the Shelbyville facility came to a halt for 8 weeks when sales and production shut down due to the pandemic. During that time, the company still supported workers in different ways. Leaders used their experience from 9/11 and the financial crisis of 2008 to create recovery plans.
So we put our management team to work and our HR team to work and said, we need to talk with our people every single week and let them know what's going on with the business and how we keep their pocketbook full so they have money to pay their bills. And I was very, very proud of this company and what we did to help our associates find the avenues to get the money they need from unemployment.
Every week, my management reached out to us to give us an update on where we were at, how things were looking, just to give us any information that they could.
Ryobi says almost all of its employees are back on the job, and the company plans to expand this year and hire 6 new employees. We'll be right back.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
The Colts are scheduled to kick off the season in less than 2 weeks, while training camp has been much different this summer. The team tells our Brad Brown getting ready for the first game feels familiar.
As the calendar turns to September, the energy around the Colts starts to feel less like training camp and more like game time.
I give our players a lot of credit, with everything we've been through, going through the pandemic and still going through that, with all the social unrest that we've had and all that's meant and means to us and is ongoing and our battle and fight there.
Last week, the team took a day away from the field to continue discussions about racial injustice and social impact, standing together as one to make a bold statement. That unity will likely pay off on the field going forward.
I've gotten to really, that term goes, I want to go to war with my brothers. I want to go to war with my brothers, but actually taking that word and actually diving into what being somebody's brother means and how can we help our brother? How can we understand our brother?
On Saturday, the team held a second workout at Lucas Oil Stadium. Without any preseason games on the schedule, it was their only real chance to go through the game day routine. And a little offense versus defense scrimmage helped amp up the whole crew.
I thought with the lack of the preseason games that this was the best way to get it done. I think, Frank and the staff with the decision to come over here twice. Now we have one more kind of probably similar to a training camp week, and then it'll be game week. So it'll be here before we know it.
From the defense, a lot of confidence, a lot of conviction in this group, and just consistency. I think the defense has played well all camp, from the linebackers to the defensive backs, especially with our D-line. Just a fast, physical group and very confident group.
A couple of months ago, the entire season was an unknown. Now, with week 1 just a dozen days away, let the real routine begin.
When you're a player in that mode, you're just in the mode of tell me what to do and get me to the game. I want to play football. And so the players will handle it right. We'll set everything up to make it as easy as we can for the players and make it as seamless as we can, get them focused on the game. And then, we just follow the protocols that we're given.
With the Colts, Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
We won't all have rain, but some of you will go to bed with the sound of rain just south of Frankfort, just south of Carmel, north of Indianapolis. These will continue to expand as we get through the overnight. Couple days in the low 80s, then Friday, sun's out, humidity's down in the 70s, Amanda.
Sounds great. Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. Good morning, Indiana starts at 4:30. Good night.